called dibs today.
Nope. No, nobody called dibs. Thank you. All right. Because no, I still don't have my doorbell. And shh. You realize how much extra noise you make just doing that. Shush. I repeat, if you know where it is, whether it was a prank or stolen or misplaced, if I have it back by tomorrow, I will not tell Mr. Zamora that it was stolen. So, no.
Did you take it? No.
All right, ahem. Shh. So today we are going to start talking about another group of the invertebrates. First, we're going to talk about sponges. We are not talking about kitchen sponges. We are talking, I meant to pull this out, sorry. We are talking about this. No, he's like a kitchen sponge. Okay, ahem. Shh. Shush. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. What?
It looks like a big, what's those things? Not walk.
Mud dauber nest?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, would you shush? Yes, I'm going to pass it around after I've told you a little bit about the anatomy so that you can be looking at those things. So, first and foremost, you need to know that the sponge depends on pores throughout its body. When you get the sponge, and I am picking it up out of the basket, you do not. Okay, this is fragile. But when you look inside, you'll be able to see those pores a lot more easily than if you're trying to look just at the outside. The reason I am pointing that out is because the phylum for sponges is called Porifera. It literally means pore bearer. Notes. There we go. So as I pass this around, go ahead and peek inside. You can easily see those pores. Interesting thing about adult sponges, and this is why we tend to not think of them as animals, is that adult sponges are sessile. That is one of your vocab words. It literally means unable to move. Now, notice. Sessile. Oh, that. Yes, that's long dead. Notice I said adult sponges are sessile. Why would I be that specific?
I guess young ones can move.
Young ones can move, exactly. So you've got this picture in your notes. Sponges have skeletons, and that's what is actually getting passed around is their skeleton. Remember we talked about how vertebrates have a backbone, a spine. Invertebrates do not have a spine, but they do have some form of a skeleton that gives their body structure. What you are passing around right now is the skeleton of the sponge. It is made of spongin. You know, all those times that don't smell it. She said sweet, she said stinks. Okay. I say don't smell it, and what do you do? Anyway, all those times we like to get frustrated with scientists for picking these really weird words. This one's easy, spongin, because it's the fibrous skeleton of a what? Sponge. Hey, now this is where it gets fun because we already learned a word called spicules. What was it? Yes, we did.
Man, we all know it.
Oh my gosh, look at your grasshopper anatomy.
I'm not buying it at home, so I can't really.
Hush. Look at your picture of the respiratory system of the grasshopper, and you will see spicules. Yes.
Is it naturally that color?
Sponges are all sorts of colors. Not quite like coral, but
Are they like natural colors or are they like
bright can be found in nature. You've seen flowers.
Well, where do they get the color?
Ahem, guys, I repeat, I don't have a doorbell. Stop. Just chill. You're going to see a video in a minute.
Where do they get the color from?
I don't know.
Is it like the food they eat?
Shh. I don't think so. But don't hold me to that. Anyway, we learned about spicules with grasshoppers, and that's the little holes in their side that they breathe through. Now you can be frustrated with scientists again because they use the same word to mean something totally different. Spicules on a sponge are these stiff little spikes made of calcium carbonate or silica, or both. I don't know why I have the parenthesis in the wrong place. Sorry. Now, you're not going to feel those on that skeleton. Okay? Now, if that were a live sponge, you would see, well, you wouldn't see, but there would be cells lining that central cavity, that giant hole in the middle of each of those branches. It has collar cells, which have flagella. Do you remember from 6th grade what flagella are?
No.
Yay!
We were amazing at memorizing stuff.
You see these little, like tiny little red strings?
Yeah.
A flagella. A flagella is it's called a whip-like structure, and it in most cells it helps the cell move. Is this cell going to move? No. But what might it move? Ooh, I heard somebody say it. The water. Exactly. So the flagella help bring the water through those pores, and that is how they eat. Because they filter all the tiny little bits, whether it's bacteria or plankton or whatever. Of course, not very deep to get plankton. They filter the water to get their food. So they're therefore called a filter feeder. Yes.
So we went to this place and it had like, it was like where you swim and then it had like, I think it was like, had something and that was why like, they like glowed when you would like.
Yes.
What is that? I went there and we
It's
it's
bioluminescence.
Yeah.
Is what makes them glow.
Went down to watch rocket on a pier.
No, it's a specific genetic thing that they have. Is it this class? I think it's this class. I have a video that I show that has.
It's not next year.
No, it's not next year because it would be life science, which makes it this year, and I'm pretty sure it was this year and not last year. I have a video that shows that bioluminescence in action, and it's really cool.
Isn't there like a body of water that's like you can swim in it and it has bioluminescent water?
Oh, I'm sure there's probably plenty.
Isn't there another one where it's jellyfish?
Some jellyfish have bioluminescence too.
Don't get those mixed.
Okay. Shh. Yes, Walker.
When my parents went on vacation without us, it was like kind of a big getaway for children thing. And they got to watch a rocket launch on a pier, and right by the pier, the bioluminescence, like it's hitting all the all the things would light up.
Yeah, because they disturb the water.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another picture of a sponge. Again, it's just brown. It's literally called a brown tube sponge.
Does it smell like brown sugar?
Probably not.
Yeah.
All right, here is the video for you so that you can see. Chill. So that you can see how sponges filter feed.
Sponges are very effective filter feeders since they're able to capture and eat particles as small as bacteria as well as larger particles.
Even if they did, it wouldn't be able to eat it.
By squirting it around the base of some sponges, we can observe how water is moving by watching what the dye does.
The dye is just there to show you the movement of the water.
Within only seconds, the dye is pumped through the sponges along with the water. As you can see, a sponge is a pretty good water a strainer. Any plankton that goes in with the water won't come back out through the osculum. Tube sponges are even more spectacular to observe.
Now, can you see any movement on that sponge? No, all that movement is happening in the middle. But look at how quickly it grabbed that dye and shoots it out the top. No,
Yeah, we should do a giant. If you put your hand on the top,
because it's designed after them with the pores.
does this hurt this one?
No, they said it was non-toxic.
If you put your hand on the top,
Maybe.
Does this hurt the dye? That's what they say.
It's a non-toxic coloring. It won't hurt them.
Does this hurt the dye? Yes.
It'll disperse.
Is a hefty barrel.
Now, see, look, that one's bright red.
What will a big monster like this do?
There's your big sponge.
It takes a few seconds for the dye to work its way through the sponge. Wait for it. But then it pours out like smoke from a chimney. That's pretty good pumping from those tiny little collar cells.
It's just water
stick your hand in it. It looks like a volcano.
What happens if you know what happened if you accidentally get your
You would damage the sponge.
That's not it. Yeah, you go to Walmart and you buy.
I would think that would be extremely difficult.
His name is Bird. But he likes
I knew somebody was going to grab a hold of that.
I mean, they were.
Okay. So next we're going to talk about cnidarians or jellyfish. Yes, Kirsten.
Would a dead sponge still work?
No, it wouldn't work like that because the entire movement was the flagella in the cells, in the collar cells, and those flagella would not be moving. Yes. Oh. All right. So first and foremost, I said jellyfish, a cnidarian. What do you think the name of the phylum is? Cnidaria. Exactly. The jellyfish belongs to the phylum called Cnidaria. And I'm sure some of this is stuff that you guys probably already know, either from going to a beach or having seen it somewhere on the screen. Jellyfish have tentacles. Now, is that a picture of a jellyfish? No. We're going to get to it in a second. Jellyfish have tentacles. That's those long stringy things with stinging cells that surround their mouths. Yes, jellyfish have mouths. We'll talk about that. But here's what you need to know. The body of cnidarians have what's called radial symmetry. That means you could split it in half along any plane. We're talking mathematical planes. So notice you've got two here, and I could cut it in half like this. I could turn and I could cut it in half like this. I could turn and I could cut it in half like this, and each half would still be symmetrical. Now, can I do that to you? No, you do not have radial symmetry. Yes.
Okay. So my friend we were in Florida,
Shh.
she got stung by like jellyfish, not the jellyfish, but I think it was like jellyfish. No, not that. I don't know what it was called,
Okay.
but it was. I think it was like, what are their babies?
Whoa.
Like their children.
Jellyfish, I think.
So she didn't get stung by like the full jellyfish. She got stung by something else, but it was part of it.
Well, hold on. We haven't gotten all the way through the anatomy, so we might hit that. So make sure you understand that radial symmetry means basically like if you're looking down at a jellyfish and you're looking at the top of it, and I'm assuming you've all seen Finding Dory.
No.
Nemo? Finding Nemo.
See, I've seen that.
The part where they're in the jellyfish, if you're looking down at a jellyfish, you could take, theoretically, you could take a guillotine, a giant blade, and slice that jellyfish in any direction along that circle, and you'd get two equal halves. You are only symmetrical along one spot, right in the middle.
Or that way.
Not really.
No, because does your face match the back of your head?
Get surgery. Get plastic surgery.
Okay. Now, cnidarians have one of two general body shapes. If it is an umbrella shape, it is called a medusa. Can you think of one that has an umbrella shape?
The box fish.
I don't know. The jellyfish.
Jellyfish. I didn't mean. I was gonna say that wasn't a trick question. Or it's tubular and it's called a polyp. That is that picture that I just showed you. That's a polyp body structure. And we'll talk about a few of those in a second. A jellyfish does have a skeleton. Go ahead. It has a hydrostatic skeleton, which means it is just supported by the substance that fills it. Why do you think it's called a jellyfish? It's jelly-like, but that is its skeleton. It has a body structure. It's not just goo. Yes. No. Maybe so. Okay. So the primary support for the jellyfish is that jelly-like mass that fills the space between two layers of tissue. There are literally two layers of tissue with some jelly in between, and that's what gives the jellyfish its structure. Okay, whoa, two at a time. What? You would kill it.
Yes.
But you know this, if you find a dead one on the shore and you poke at it, it's like gooey. It's jiggly. That's a good word. It's jiggly.
What type of jellyfish are those? Like the flat ones you always find up on the beach?
There's numerous types. It depends on where you are.
Like a box jelly.
All right. Shh. Now, I already told you this. The body wall of a jellyfish is made of two layers of tissue. I just told you that because remember I said the jelly is between those two layers. And inside, the inside layer is called the gastrovascular cavity. Anytime you see the word gastro, that's referring to digestion. That is the jellyfish's stomach, essentially.
Yeah.
Except that it doesn't actually have a stomach, so it's called external digestion. Huh? Okay, why do we make comments? And then when I ask for...
No.
By the way, in a jellyfish, both the food and the waste go through the mouth.
Yay! Imagine pooping out of your mouth.
Okay, so a jellyfish doesn't have as many orifices as you do. Orifice is your bodily holes. Yes. I've never heard that. I would have to check that. I don't think that's not really something I think that they experience. All right. Now you get to see that external digestion at work. And I'm sorry, the video is super dramatic. That is a box jellyfish, by the way.
It's supposed to be like majestic.
I know, like I said, the music is super dramatic.
That went for
Pull it. Oh. Yay! And then we play music.
And I feel bad for the fish because it looks like he's screaming.
I don't think I'll ever be the same ever.
Oh, honey, you better get used to it because I do this throughout this whole chapter. I literally look at these chapters as almost a challenge to see how many of you I can gross out.
Hey, you see on me.
Oh, no, the grossest video I've ever showed will never get shown again
No, I mean, you show it.
because I nearly had a girl puke. Now, you've got this picture. By these notes, I'm going to show you the picture here in a second on the screen and point out each of these things. On the jellyfish, those stinging cells that are on the tentacles, and that's why you don't want to touch the tentacles. Those have a big scientific name. They are called nematocysts.
I've never seen that in my life.
Each nematocyst has a trigger. That trigger causes a thin tube to be forced out of the nematocyst, and it penetrates. It stabs into another organism. The nematocysts typically are used to provide food for the jellyfish, like that poor little fish. It would not have been alive when it got sucked into the jellyfish. No. I know it looked like it was screaming.
No, I wouldn't be alive.
Guys!
No, the nematocysts would have paralyzed it. It would not have really known. But if you've seen any sort of movie or whatever, nematocysts are also used for defense. If a person steps on a jellyfish, what happens? They get stung. Now, most jellyfish, if they get a human, it's pretty much just going to cause a rash on a human or a small animal. I'm not talking fish. Depending on the size of the animal, it can paralyze it like you saw with that fish, and then it uses its tentacles to pull the food in to that gastrovascular cavity. Oh, okay.
No, go.
Wait.
I know, there's a lot of blanks on that one. What? No, not you. No. I'm saying when it kills the small animal, it then uses the tentacles to pull it in. Like the fish.
How do you think?
It's not going to eat you, don't worry.
Yeah, it's gonna
Although there are jellyfish that might be big enough. So you've got this picture. You can see how there's these tiny little spikes. Those are your triggers. And until the nematocyst gets touched, or until the trigger gets touched, that nematocyst stays coiled up inside of those cells. When the trigger gets hit, it shoots out that little tube, stabs whatever it is, and shoots poison into it. Yes. You may have, well, if it was dead long enough, you may have avoided it, or you didn't, like, you remember in Finding Nemo where she's bouncing along the tops? Those jellyfish on top don't have nematocysts on the top. They were just in the tentacles. Yes. Karma will happen.
Oh, you made my fish.
Ouch. Okay, now, most of the time, the nematocysts are in the tentacles of the jellyfish. That is not the only place that they can be, however, so just be aware of that. That basically means don't just go touching the top of it like Dory did, because you don't know.
I'm gonna go touch it.
So this picture shows you a little bit. I think I have just this one in your notes. Okay, that's to show you those two tissue layers with the jelly in between and the gastrovascular cavity in the middle. And then, of course, you can see your tentacles. And this is just to kind of show you how it moves. It's basically like it pushes itself up. Okay. Well, that's just because of the cutout. Whoa, that was supposed to show up one at a time. Oh, my bad. Oh, there is. So the jellyfish Medusa, just means the shape of it, swims by contracting muscles around the rim of its body. That jets water out of its gastrovascular cavity and moves the jellyfish forward. Many of the animals that we're going to talk about move in that way. They push water out, which propels them forward. From 6th grade. Do you remember which law of motion that is?
No.
Third. Yes. For each action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Wait, is that how you cross?
Basically, because you're pushing against the water.
Is that why they go forward and they go back a little bit?
Maybe.
They go forward
Okay,
and then they go.
so let's try that again. Hydras, which are pretty microscopic most of the time. We are not talking about the Marvel villain agency. We are not talking about the Greek mythological legend. There are actually hydras that are animals. Corals, we tend to think of coral as the skeleton. That made me jump. The skeleton. Shh.
Ding dong.
Stop. But corals actually are animals. The coral reef is the skeleton. And then Portuguese man-of-wars. These look like a jellyfish, but they are not one. They do have what looks like tentacles hanging down, but they are not a jellyfish. They are actually a colony of animals. Hey, I realize you guys already wrote these down, but listen, please. So each of these animals, you can see each one of them has tentacles that they sting their prey with. They suck it into a central body cavity where they digest it. By the way, if you are ever swimming in the ocean and you see one of these, usually you will see that bubble floating on top of the water.
Yeah.
You get away because a Portuguese man-of-war can kill a human. Okay?
As long as
Don't.
you're dead, it won't sting you.
Walker.
When we went to, nearly Mexico, down in Texas, I saw one of those on a beach for building sand castles. So I threw a sand at him.
Okay. Yeah, stay away from them.
Yeah.
All right, and that is where we stop for today.
I'm never going back to this one.